I'd like to call our meeting to order and welcome everybody here for joining us this evening. I'd like to just jump right into our agenda tonight and go to number 3, awards and recognition.
All right, so we're going to start off with Miss Aniston Kinley. Miss Aniston Kinley is a sophomore at Scott County High School, and she most recently won the Grand Champion Berkshire Boar at the Kentucky State Fair. I'll let you wait. I'm going to say a few more things. I don't want you to stand up there awkwardly, so I'll say a few more things. Such accomplishments in this field are not new for Aniston. Last year as a freshman, she received a $1,000 grant as part of a national scholarship program for a project that she was working on there. She's an active FFA member at Scott County High School already with a long history of involvement in this program. There is, I believe, yes. So, is that Tank? Is that Tank?
Yeah.
Okay, I can't see you back there, so I've heard about Tank. So here we have pictured Aniston as a 7th grader at Royal Spring Middle School, working in the school, working in the school garden there. And we have with us ag teachers. I believe that Seth Phelps was able to make it, and Haley Sigmund, and they're new to Scott County this year, and we're happy to welcome them as well. Or Mr. Phelps back there? Yes, thank you. Good. Thank you for being here. Happy to have you. And along with Miss Gapehart, principal. They're just so proud of their program and the accomplishments that the students in their FFA program, including the level of success that has been earned by Aniston at the State Fair. So we have a challenge going here for Aniston. So if Aniston, if you don't mind coming up, we'd like to give them a little celebration. All right. Oftentimes when we have our recognition, we will generally say some things and make it just moderately awkward for everybody involved. In this case, we have a little bit of a presentation, so I'm really excited about this. So next with us this evening, we have Carla Gray, social studies teacher at Great Crossing High School, who along with student Evelyn Johnson participated in a very interesting project this summer. Evelyn is a senior this year at Great Crossing High School, and the two were one of only 15 teacher-student teams selected in the country to take part in this extensive program studying the Normandy campaign. For 6 months, they attended meetings, viewed lectures, and participated in academic discussion with professors from George Washington University. In the end, they produced an incredible final project. I think it would mean so much more to hear directly from them, so I will now turn over the floor to them to hear more about the Normandy Project and their experience. And so we are super excited to have you all hear from them.
Thank you so much. We were selected for the Albert H. Small Normandy Institute, and it's based on the idea. Albert Small was a realtor, and he was very wealthy, and he would always go around and tell people, you have to go to Normandy, you have to go to Normandy. And finally, one of the professors at George Washington was like, why don't you send people to Normandy? And so he started this program to send teachers and students to Normandy to understand the campaign and to eulogize a soldier that died. And to make it more special, they made it a soldier that was local to the student-teacher team. And so we applied, we were accepted, and then we spent 6 months doing a ridiculous amount of research and a lot of reading. There are a lot of teachers in the room, so just to give you an indication of how much, they gave me 120 hours of professional development, and she had to do more work. So it was a lot. But at the end, last June, we went to Washington, D.C., where we listened to lectures from scholars at George Washington and at the U.S. Military Academy to talk about the Normandy campaign. We also used the National Archives to research our soldier, who everyone has here, and she's going to talk about in a minute. And then we went to Arlington, and we went to the Holocaust Memorial, and then after 3 COVID tests and a lot of waiting, we took off on a plane to Normandy, where it was a little bit like being dropped into The Longest Day, the movie. We went to every site. We went to all 5 beaches, learning about the campaign. Evelyn presented an awesome presentation at Lafayette Bridge about the campaign there. And then the final day, which is the most powerful day, We started off on Omaha Beach, which is where our soldier passed away. And then the most powerful thing is the students write a eulogy. And part of their research is talking to family members and doing like tons of research and retelling the story of their soldier. And it also includes, like, Evelyn's biography of our soldier will go into the Normandy American Cemetery. So for future research, or when people visit, if they want to learn about our soldiers, they're going to see what Evelyn has written. And so on the final day, we walked up to the beach and we ended up at the cemetery, and I'm going to let Evelyn tell you about that experience and about our soldier.
So we actually walked up a path that soldiers had used to get inland on the beach. It had been previously closed because of safety concerns, but the person that was the leader, the director of our group, and the cemetery people were able to work out. So we walked the path that soldiers climbed through on D-Day through the beaches, and we went to the cemetery, and we all took turns giving our eulogies. It rained like crazy, but we were able to get through them all. It's something that will stick with me for a very long time. I have shortened my eulogy a little bit, and so now I'll share that with you guys. This is my soldier. His name is Thomas Eugene Bratton. Thomas Bratton was a soldier who made the ultimate sacrifice on D-Day at Omaha Beach in Dog Green Sector. He was a soldier in the 29th Infantry Division, the 116th Infantry Regiment, Company B. Thomas Bratton was also known as Tommy. He had 7 older brothers and sisters. The Bratton family belonged to St. Rita Catholic Parish in Louisville, Kentucky. Thomas married Elizabeth Grobel when he was 19 years old on June 6, 1942, in a Catholic ceremony. Elizabeth discovered she was pregnant a month before Thomas shipped out to the war. Thomas would never get to meet his son. Thomas had a large family and was close with them, particularly his sister Carrie. While in England, he wrote to his in-laws and asked about their well-being and his son. While at war, Thomas carried a silk blue sock that belonged to his son. Thomas's company was one of the first men on the beach. From the moment the ramps fell on their boat, they were under heavy fire. The men in Company A and Company B knew when they boarded the ships that they most likely weren't making it home. And still, they boarded the ships and fought for our freedom and the freedom of others. Thomas Eugene Bratton died in service of his country and his fellow man. He was a good man, and I will remember him. Normandy Institute has been an amazing opportunity for me. I was able to study D-Day in great depth and detail. World War II has always been a really great interest of mine, and I have loved researching D-Day. But the Institute was more than just the research of the strategies and the battles. Part of the Institute was to pick a soldier who died on the beaches of Normandy that lived close to our hometown. While doing this, World War II became more than the battles that I had researched. It became more than the war. It was the countries that had suffered. It was the communities that were destroyed. It was the people who died fighting. During the institution, I have realized the true sacrifice that peace demands, and it is one I will not soon forget. This summer, I traveled out of the country for the first time and saw the impact that the Nazi occupation had on the French. I visited bunker after bunker and saw just how well the Nazis fortified the beaches. Seeing the lasting impact of the horrors that was the world faced has truly made me realize what it was we sacrificed during World War II and how important freedom is. It has made me realize that there are some things that cannot be taken for granted. This experience has opened my eyes to the price freedom has, and it is one I will remember.
Thank you all so much.
I just want to say, she did an amazing job. When Evelyn had presented her eulogy, I've never seen rain like that. Like, I think her jackets still smell like the rain, and she just knocked you out of the park. And she represented Scott County Schools in Great Crossing, like, amazingly, and made me very proud.
Thank you for sharing. That's amazing.
Well,
Absolutely wonderful.
And before they escape, I'd like to make sure that, again, this is one example among many that we have of ways that we're trying to provide meaningful opportunities for our students. And so I thank you for your all's work together as kind of this team. If you would, let's offer our appreciation. Let's give a round of applause. Come on up. Thank you. picture in here as well? That's for you. All right, let's get a picture. There we go.
Thank you very much.
My first year teaching, I had 96 hours of PD, and I thought that was a lot.
I'm trying to hit 200 this year. I'm very close.
Oh, goodness gracious. All right, good stuff, good stuff. Yeah, I mean, just national levels of distinction at both high schools. Just, I mean, that's the kind of things we want to make sure that we're getting out there, because sometimes it's, sometimes we've got great things going on, and we don't know.
Well, thank you, both students, for representing us so well. We really appreciate it. Thank you. Number 4, agenda approval. All in favor? Those opposed? Motion carries. Number 5, public comments. Matthew Hyatt. How are you?
Hello, folks. My name is Matthew. I appreciate your time, and this might not be the right avenue for this, so it's not just please get some guidance. Back in May of last year, there was some criminal activity at one of the schools, and I can't really identify it a whole lot specifically, also because it involves a child, and there's some CPS investigation. But if we need to talk offline, we can. I'm just trying to find the security camera for that criminal event, and I'm getting a lot of roadblocks. And I have a subpoena ready to file. I can file it here, or I can file it to the school, but I just need some guidance, if you guys can.
And I think that would be something we'd be able to,
Yeah,
certainly me and you get together and we can march down that path.
Sure,
Yeah.
okay.
And we have your correct phone number and information. I
Yes.
think it would probably be best to have a conversation
I think
with.
that would be perfect.
I think that would be best.
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, if you guys will reach out to me, and then we'll talk that way.
Yeah, I think Maria Bennett, right behind you, I'm gonna have her, you all
Sure.
kind of step out the
Yeah.
hallway and kind of get that going, and we can.
Thank you so much. I was a little worried. I found a lot of roadblocks, but I knew you guys would come through. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, those were all the board comments, I believe, that we have for this evening. Okay. Number 6, consent agenda items A through K.
Move to approve.
All in favor? Those opposed? Motion carries. Go down to number 7. Number 7 is our construction report. How,
It's been a while.
it has.
Had the opportunity to construction report.
Absolutely.
Really not a great deal to talk about, other than we finally did get started on our construction. Here you'll see an aerial shot of the site as you're looking south. We're gonna pretty much got everything stripped. A lot of blasting still going on out on the site. This is another view of the site as you're looking toward the north. You see on the bottom left-hand side there will be the beginnings of the road that's going to go around the soccer field. And here is a little bit better view of, see some of the foundation walls going up on the garden level. Same thing, another view of the garden level foundation walls. You can start to see the outlines of the interior footings that are on the right-hand side. Some close-up shots of the retaining walls around the garden level, and some of the steel work that's going in for the reinforcement of the footings and walls that are going up right now. That's pretty much everything that's happening out on the site. We're still working through some of the permitting issues with the highway department. Ben Boggs in our office has been working with the transportation cabinet, and I think they've finally cleared all their hurdles, so they're just waiting on some paperwork to finalize that permit.
Is that on the main entrance?
That would be on the main entrance, yes.
Okay.
So, other than that, we've not run into any problems. They just seem to be moving along.
And it's for
Very
me,
well.
it's kind of a, I mean, it's a construction report that seems, you know, quick and not, I mean, but they're rocking and rolling. I mean,
Weather's been cool.
yes, yes,
Rock, a lot of rock out there.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think the worst of it's probably gonna be the rock from the pictures I saw.
Yeah.
But they've got through most of that already. I mean, they've pretty much got the footprint clear.
Yeah, footprint of the building is clear, so we're,
We're not
baseball,
talking-
softball field location is where there's a lot of blasting right now. There's a lot
I
of that
know,
building.
I go by there twice a week, I see a drill sitting there running,
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
they get ready for some more.
Probably doesn't hurt that a lot of us have relationships with people in Stonehead.
I was gonna ask.
Helpful that my brother probably lives there, so he can call some people, you know.
So that means Thanksgiving's gonna be interesting at your house?
Well, we probably will have it, yeah, at my house and not there. They might not let me in, they might not let me in, yeah.
Yeah.
No, they've been real, I mean, they've been good in approach, when they've had concerns, they've approached it the right way, so.
Have you answered any questions on that?
Have you had very many people coming in on the backside of it? Just
Not-
coming to watch, or,
I've not heard anybody.
okay, I'm just curious.
There's a pretty good size, well, I guess you're talking about from the neighborhood.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are some open spots with some fencing, but for the most part, it's all fenced.
Yeah, that's a good question, because I guess with Red Crossing, where it's set out in a little, almost a fishbowl, there wasn't as much of a
Right.
concern there. Whereas now, coming in
But-
that backside, things can go.
Right, but the one thing that there's not as much access with this site, if you're wanting to.
For roads and all, but
Yeah,
for
to do-
for somebody
Yes, 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 yes,
who
yeah.
wants to be squirrely, it's.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm just curious.
Yes.
Sure, because you know, watching around.
Oh, I just know how many of them was coming through when it was just a farm,
Mhm.
and that's,
No pond, no,
that's what I was saying.
no fishing. Yeah.
Well, those weren't fishing, they were riding through the soy country.
I remember that.
Yeah, I figured you would, seemed like you had a hammer thin.
Yep, 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 yep. We do all things here, so.
All right, any questions for David? Okay, thank you. Thank you, David. Number 8, approve schematic design for the new Scott County High School bid package number 2. Do we want to talk about that for a second or show?
Yeah, that's totally fine, David.
I'm up again. Well, this is kind of a, almost a multimedia production, so there's some things that are gonna be on slides, some on boards. Now, it don't matter which one is, which way, we'll start, let's get started with this one. Let's see, I'm gonna say the field house class. And we'll still be using the PowerPoint up there. We'll start probably with the master plan of the site. Of course, when we started the high school, what part of the KD requirements is that you develop a master plan for the project. Of course, that's what was included in the original onset of the high school approval process. Pretty much, nothing much has changed since that approval. Everything's still in the same locations that it was. The areas that we'll be talking about will be at the far north end where the baseball, softball fields are, and at the south end of the site where the soccer and football fields are located. Start with the baseball,
Let's just call it stickball.
stickball.
Just, yeah, that, we like that.
Terry started that.
Terry started it and we're just gonna carry it on, you know.
So the stickball complex, so there is basically a copy of Great Crossing complex. Same facilities. The one thing that has changed on that is right at the very bottom, you'll see a little tiny red square just north of the parking lot is a ticket booth with a family restroom put in it. Because I will tell you that the plumbing codes have now changed for outdoor venues since we did Great Crossing. So some things, and you'll see that mostly is going to affect the football, soccer complex with regard to that. So we have about 100 parking spots planned for that location. And because of the rock that's out there in that location, we're looking at those fields being actually turf fields instead of irrigated grass fields. Other than that, the two plans are flipped.
Does that change the pricing?
The turf, probably some, yes, because I'm not sure whether it'd be up or down, and more or less because of the rock that's involved. You go to an irrigation system, you start trenching rock and drainage that's associated with that. So this lets us go a little bit flatter. Don't have to worry too much about the drainage as much with the turf field.
I'm just curious, I'm trying to orient myself, what's that red rectangle on the top? Yeah.
That's
right there.
greenhouse.
That's the greenhouse, okay.
That's greenhouse.
I'm just curious why the extra parking lot with baseball, softball, and not, I guess we need it, obviously, but I've noticed on those bigger, there's sort of designated parking over here for baseball, softball, but not so much for football, soccer.
Well, just the
It's just
general.
the entrance way,
Let me
it is the way the
back
entrance is
up.
oriented.
Um,
Well, I guess
Just
the
the
back
way it's
there.
laid out,
I guess the back, okay, yeah, I see it, okay.
yeah.
Okay. I
just
was
what,
looking at the soccer field, I
Yep.
guess, and thinking,
Yep.
there's no access point, but I guess there's that central spot there,
Yep.
okay.
this one actually has kind of a better use of parking lots than we had at Great Crossing because of the separation between the two
Right,
projects.
that's why I was asking,
so-
okay.
It would be great if there was someone we could put an entrance in down there to that parking lot.
Off of the,
Off of the road down here.
bypass.
Mhm.
Yeah. Oh, getting
No.
access points across there
I
has
know.
been
Yeah.
a
Mhm.
struggle, to say the least.
Interesting.
In fact, where that entrance is located to the site off the bypass is a designated spot that was determined by the highway department long before the school was ever even going to be there. And we, in fact, went through a long process of trying to get that relocated.
Right, and that was what I was gonna say, is just from the struggles we had of trying to relocate this entrance site.
I was just thinking a perfect world, how great it would be if over here on this side, there was an entrance from that parking lot. But I understand the struggles and asking for this.
We're gonna have emergency service over to the field, right? Is that gonna be like a small designated road from here?
Yeah, I don't even know that, I mean, like on the football field at Great Crossing, we put in, if you recall, some of those pavers on
Right.
one side of it. I mean, we've talked a little bit, we know it's coming, but we haven't talked about exactly what that looks like or exactly where that goes, other than we know the general idea.
In fact, we were, day before yesterday, we were just talking about that
Yeah.
with the meeting, talking about how well is it held up at Great Crossing.
Yep.
Emergency. So again, that was the plan that's here on this board, which is the toilets, the chair back seating, press boxes and concession. Everything is the same except for the addition of that little ticket booth with the family restroom added to it.
How many restrooms will be in that facility? Just in that?
Stick balls.
And the stick ball,
There you go.
you get, I mean, there's just basically the two restrooms here, the women's side has 1, 2, 3, 4, commode.
Here and here.
The men's is 2 and 2,
These two, David,
yes.
here and here.
All right.
One of them has all the restrooms, the other one has the concession.
Okay. And then I know at Great Crossing, we had storage for our lawn care,
We have that here as well.
right? Okay.
In fact, since we actually developed this, the other third base dugout there, we're actually putting storage on the back of that one as well.
So what is the square there on the far left?
That's batting cages, which we've talked about moving those to in between fields.
The one thing we wanted to make sure, speaking of bag cages, the light is so precise that we use for these fields that when they've got a game going on at night, you can be in the batting cage and right beside the field and really not be able to use it. So we talk about making sure that we've got adequate light for the batting cage.
Yeah, I could see where it'd be more beneficial.
Yeah.
Well, I like that idea too, because regardless, I mean, there's one thing that's missing, Great Crossing, athletic facilities, there's not a permanent activity, so.
And the restroom over there, I think is great. I mean, the more restrooms, the better. Especially if it's gonna be such a hike from one end to the other. Restrooms would be advantageous.
How far is it to the property line from the field?
About the left field fence.
Yeah, say left the big field fence, how far?
Uh,
Yeah, going
Oh,
straight
going up, oh.
Just don't touch.
That's,
Can you zoom out a little bit?
I
Oh, you can't on that one? I'm just,
What?
Oh, let's just
You
go
go
back.
back
Go
300 feet
back.
or?
yeah. there you
You're
go.
probably a couple hundred feet.
So baseball's supposed to go somebody's yard.
And there's actually a significant hill there behind the outfield fence between that and the houses, that the field drops down in elevation, so there's
I was just thinking for expansion, not of all.
The only thing,
You needed to increase
There's a tower.
parking or whatever.
yeah, we gotta be careful though, you know, those power lines and
Right.
that's only, the only.
Yeah, I was just thinking parking space.
I was thinking about the lights
Well,
on in people's
I thought
yards.
we talked about potential for maybe that being an outdoor ag space too.
Yeah.
So,
That would be a good spot,
yeah,
but
yeah, right after greenhouse. that
Maybe-
makes sense.
it's still gonna be a hike, but that would be a good use for it.
yeah, I mean, just because then you've got less restrictions worrying about.
Oh, yeah.
power lines and all that.
any more questions about the
So the batting cages
Stick
are
ball.
probably gonna move, right?
batting cage pump?
Hello?
All right, with that, again, that is the plan conceptual here that we were just talking about. And again, you see down there at the bottom center, okay, the ticket booth and family restroom. And this is probably far beyond schematic approval stage in terms of drawings, simply because we're just there at this time. With that, I'll move on down to the south end fields. Again, those have not, we have the same type of setup that we have at Great Crossing with the, I'll call it the A-frame seating on both sides. Of course, the red structure at the left end of the football field is the field house. And in this phase, we'll include that parking lot just to the left of the field house that was permitted.
Can we go back? Oh, no, never mind, I'm sorry. Keep going.
Again, it's just a 3D view of the grandstand. I would say that after some conversations, coach, they wanted to reduce the number of chairback seats to 300 in that neighborhood instead of the 500 that we had at Great Crossing. So we've done that. Press boxes and all pretty much the same. Now, the big difference here is because of the field elevations, at Great Crossing, you had about 8 feet of difference between the height of the soccer field and the football field. We've had to shift everything because these fields are mostly on the same level. So the A-frame doesn't work quite the same way. So you will not be able to go up one side and then back down the other on the A-frame. So the soccer side and the football side are
We're not upset about that. Yeah.
And aren't we using a different building component up here than what we did before?
it will be designed a little bit different, yes.
What were the differences?
HVAC system will be different. We are looking at doing a custom box that they're not by the bleacher manufacturer, as we ran into some issues with them. So that we make sure that we've got adequate chase space for wiring, conduits, and so forth. That was a struggle with the pre-engineered people's thing. The elevator will also be not a packaged elevator, it'll be a standard elevator going up to it.
That might be what I would lead into the question I have. Do you remember the issue with the concession stand? Like our first couple of games, maybe even it was just the first game at Great Crossing. We couldn't even use the fixtures that we provided for the concession stand because
The electrical circuits,
Yes,
the
the blow
coolers were
fuses.
blowing, yes, I've already
yeah,
made our engineers very aware of
Yeah,
that in terms
okay.
of upping
the wattage or whatever it is.
capabilities of
Yeah.
those.
And is there any thoughts in the plans for the concession stand for there to be more prep space?
Well, again, we're, at this point, we're basically at schematic design, so we've got the space there. Let's move on
Just
to
for,
this picture. And again, here, one of the things, we only have one concession stand here, whereas we had two separate ones at Great Crossing. So the far left-hand end one there is now converted back to a storage space instead of a concession area. So,
okay, well, maybe if they can put a table in there. But as it is right now, like, there's no room for prep. Like, they can't wrap burgers or dogs or anything in there, and they're all sitting on top of each other before a game. So they just had somewhere to just have a table just to prep something. So that's just something that they brought and said that they have no room to prep the food before the games.
Other than that, I think the bathrooms and all are pretty much the same, where you can subdivide bathrooms for smaller events, you don't have to open up all of the restroom facilities. The press boxes, again, are very similar in size to what we have at Great Crossing. We are going to make the entire roof area of this one a foam platform with walkable surface on it, which is a change from Great Crossing.
Put it in sprinkler system.
We are hoping,
I had to bring that up.
I understand too. Keep that quiet.
I was in that meeting with you, but that, yeah.
Oh, you did.
Yeah, what about that?
That one was fun, yeah.
So, no, we're going to Frankfurt with our plans and saying, this is what we want to do. And we want to know now, and put it right.
Have somebody sign off on it.
Yes, yeah, I want it
Please.
right.
Not that we could.
Do you foresee any issues with, I'm just thinking about ball games. There are two entrances, like traffic flow.
Well, just the whole general site plan itself, yeah, I mean, there's a number of entrances that we can get, and this goes back to the highway department. I'm gonna back all the way up to that plan right there. Working with the Department of Transportation, they have dictated the entrance, on the Longwood Road entrance to be there, and the other entrance to be there, and that's the only entrances we
And
have.
even Wendy, to the point that the existing current entrance, they have said, yeah,
I
let's
just
push
worry
it
about
back a little
games.
bit.
I do. Crazy.
But if you think about it,
I mean,
we've
it's
had,
better than we ever had at Georgetown College.
right, yeah, we've been having to deal with this for years.
Okay, so, okay.
Yeah, I mean, when we were playing at Georgetown on Friday night, we just had the one
We
entrance.
do have a round, I'm glad you pointed out the
But
roundabout.
Jude's got one that's not used to Great
Instrumental,
Crossing.
that would be
You know, Great
instrumental.
Crossing,
You
we
might
might
have-
have
We might have two, yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Nobody in Kentucky has it.
No, they should have, not Georgetown, they don't.
Yeah.
But Wendy, what we do, and this is why they do this, like what we did with Creekside and with, over there at Great Crossing, is we allow all this road front, to be able to direct traffic, and then they'll come in and determine what the inflow and outflow is. Because this gives us a lot of staging area. Yeah.
Yeah, I know, thought that too.
I was just hoping that was my session game, just, that was the worst game
Because
ever
it
in my
was,
life.
it
Well,
was such a
the
relief
one-
when Great Crossing opened.
Mhm.
The shift from what we were used to, and that,
Oh, yeah.
good, Lord, this
Yeah.
is fabulous, you can get in here and wait.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
So, this is probably, this is probably more normal. What we had was terrible, and Great Crossing was great.
And it'll be, in some ways, you know, when we were like, the planning for the first Battle of the Birds, I remember we were like, oh my gosh, what are we gonna, you know, like, how are we gonna handle this? And we figured that, you know, there might be, there might be a
Our
game or
principals
two
are
that
like
make it
that,
tough.
UPS is very,
Yeah.
Any questions about the concession and our press boxes?
I'm playing for the two
the same.
They're about basically the same.
Okay.
I did mention before that this is the seating on the visitor side of the football field. We are adding more lighting on that side, general lighting for people to get around. And the one thing I would mention, I said there was a plumbing code change. So if we look at the new Scott County field house, if I can orient you, the football field would be over on this side. There's a block of restrooms right here on this part of the building, and that's to serve the visitor side because you have to be within 500 feet of the restroom facilities now. So instead of doing a freestanding building on that side, we thought it was more economical to go ahead and attach it to the field house building. The other aspect of that that has come up that we talked about is that gives us the ability to open up our overhead garage doors and put some tables in there for some temporary concessions that can be served out of that. That's a possibility.
Wouldn't be a board meeting without bragging on DT for something. That was his idea, so wherever he is.
I get twisted mustache.
And we're doing away with doors on this side, is that
Yeah,
correct?
because that side's buried in the ground.
Okay. And we've decided with this field house, we're gonna do geothermal, correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
And our geothermal field is actually going to be located inside the building under the turf portion of the field. Simply because everywhere else around the building is either utility easement, the actual playing field, parking lot, or it's too sloped on the side where you're entering the A-frame portion of the building. So there's really no exterior lot that's good, and we thought that putting it under the turf inside the building is our best option, because if you do have a problem with it, they can roll the turf back, fix it back, doesn't, interrupt the season. So,
That's
And
a
putting-
good idea too.
There we go. Here.
The big difference between this field house and Great Crossings field house is that Great Crossings football locker rooms are on the upper level because the field is at the upper level. So basically, we've just flipped it around, and at Scott County, the football locker rooms are on the lower level because the field is on the lower level. So it's just kind of reversed. The floor plans have changed a little bit. But for comparison, if I was looking at, that's Great Crossing, and that's Scott County. So basically, they're as equal as we can make them.
Is there locker rooms that look the same?
Locker rooms will be, well, they won't look exactly the same, but be very similar. We've had conversations about things that were liked or disliked in the Great Crossing thing, and we're always trying to improve every time we do something.
Similar in size though.
So very, very similar in size. Not exact, again, because we had some restrooms for this one. Those drawings fields are almost identical. Weight room is similar, locker room is similar.
questions, anybody, at this point? No questions for David?
I've had all of this.
Thank you, thank you very much.
Outstanding job, as usual.
Appreciate it.
So just for clarification, so the roof divisions within there, obviously it's little and you can't see it this big. We're essentially providing the same spaces for the same use. It's all been
Yes.
parsed out, similar to what we did Great Rock.
And again, we've got that introduction with DT and coaches.
Very good.
We would be just asking for approval.
Thank you.
Here, I think here in just a second, David.
So David, one question. We're gonna go through our approval process. When will everything get started, and what do you think an estimated completion date is for our sports complex? I'm gonna ask.
Not ask, well, the,
Can I answer for him?
No.
She did ask you.
I know.
I talk to you every day.
I know.
I've asked the, Dwayne to have us on the agenda for next month's board meeting for design development, following month, plan approval. Go out to bid, in December.
Mhm.
And then that will also tell us what the price will be for the
Well, last month Tony said we're way ahead of schedule, so there's no reason to think this should.
So we think that this will be completed around the same time that we're completing the high school, correct?
Yes.
Right, that's what I was
That's
asking.
the plan.
Okay.
There is that potential.
Oh, goodness.
Well,
They
no,
feel
I'm
very
just-
confident, they feel very
But
confident.
but there is that potential. I don't want to overpromise. That's all I'm saying.
Thank you, David.
Okay.
Can I ask Ms. Gabehart? This is your team's deal. Do you have any questions?
I got to go out the other day to see the site, and it was just exciting just to see the walls that are starting to be poured and begin to see kind of where everything's going. So at this point, I'm not even sure what to ask.
Sure.
I'm gonna work with Dwayne and just kind of figure out just some of the logistics on different things. And I don't know, I'm excited. I'm like a kid in a candy store watching it all done. So I appreciate it.
All right. What
Thank you.
before you run away, we still need, and I know I've asked this, I know Kevin's asked this, we still need to know what CTE programs we're planning on being in this building, because we don't wanna have change orders to accommodate those programs. Because we ran into this at Great Crossing where we had, I don't know the exact number, but I wanted to have $1 million change order.
More than a million. For the welding?
For
Yes.
welding.
Yeah.
Right, so that's why we keep asking what CTE programs are gonna be in this building so that we can fix that now before we build it and have to go back and backtrack. So that we can get the funds.
We've got, there are some similarities and some differences between the last project and this project. The fact that this is an existing school with existing pathways. And then I know we've talked a little bit about having a meeting on, actually an existing meeting on the 13th, that work session. And I think at that point, maybe some information, we can talk through some of that, because some of it's more of a discussion.
But the whole point of having this brand new beautiful building is so that we can bring in new pathways and create, more CTE programs, so. When we say existing programs, that's great, all the people we have, but what do we have to do to it?
Sure, but, just the use of schools' teachers is driven by their site base. And so, some of it's cart ahead of the horse. I mean, there's, I understand where
I
you're
just don't
going.
want $1 million change.
You can say that all you want, but we're already to the point where if we're gonna add something, we're gonna have a change order because the project's already out there.
Well, that's what we've been asking for months.
I mean, the school already exists. I'm not sure what else to tell you as far as the pathways that we have existing currently are going to continue to be there. We'll be talking in
It's like
October.
this.
We'll be talking in October about some of the thoughts that we've had as far as some of the decisions that we made up to this point.
We have some rooms behind the cafeteria, correct? That we've changed up in comparison to the Great Crossing, right?
Well, no,
That we
in-
could use for those spaces.
I don't even know if I'd say in comparison to Red Crossing as much as we try to better provide for like the ag programs, what they wanted to make the programs benefit their needs.
For the size of those rooms. And it was just like when we went into Great Crossing, we didn't even have the big need when we were building the school for welding until that spring before. I think is when kids raised their hand and we had more kids wanting to participate in it. And that's when we stopped that program.
I guess that's where she was going with that, is if they started that process, so.
Because we, Katie had to do a survey and that was all
That's
set.
exactly what hung at us. We didn't know what you didn't know. And I think where she's going is the survey that we did at the time, not that.
Mhm.
I think it was where she was headed.
I got you. And again, I think that, like I said, the October meeting, I think will explain a lot. It was gonna be in September, but it was opted to wait until October, so we're waiting until October.
October 13th or 17th, is it?
13th.
13th is work session.
6:30.
Mhm.
Yep. Great.
Okay.
Excited about it.
Okay, number 8, approve schematic design for the new Scott County High School bid package number 2. Do I have a motion?
Move to approve.
All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Number 9, approve to accept Trout Tate Wilson an engineering bid for commissioning agent for the new Scott County High School.
Second.
All in favor? Those opposed? Motion carries. Number 10, student achievement report. Good evening.
Good evening.
She's been in presentation mode all day, so she's
There you
ready to
go.
rock and roll.
All right.
So wanted to give you all a couple of updates. First, on our Deeper Learning Grant that I talked to you all about in July. We now have a team of Deeper Learning coaches. They represent every school from preschool all the way to high school. And they're going to be embarking on the work of our graduate competencies and the work around deeper learning. And that is all funded through the CKEC grant. And so they are going to be receiving stipends for the work as they lead it through the next 3 years. And so very excited. We had our kickoff today and just really started with the why of why these competencies are so important in making sure that our students are successful after high school. So we have started that. We are going to be meeting twice a month for the rest of the school year, and we will continue to give you updates on where we are with that and getting your feedback as well as the communities and our parents and our students on what those competencies are going to be for our Scott County schools and our students. So we're really excited about that. And the other piece of update that I wanted to give you all is the state data release is coming up. We actually did get, it was a tentative, but we did get our scores for quality control today. So we have been digging through the data, making sure that all of the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed. The district embargo is on that 13th date where we will have a work session where we'll not only be talking about some of the opportunities for our students in the future, but also be looking at what that data review looks like in the district with you all, as well as other district members. October 14th is the media embargo date, so the media will have access to that data. Monday, KDE will have their media opportunity midday. And then on Tuesday, October 18th, that data will go public. So there are some changes to what that data is going to look like. The state has transitioned from, it was a 5-star rating. They have moved to colors. And so they will range from red being the lower performing.
I mean, how many jobs were justified?
Yes. So we're going from 5 stars to 5 colors. Yeah.
So red being the lowest.
and blue being the best, the highest scores. And
None of your side, right?
yes, yes, so,
Stop.
Favorite
Stop.
call out.
Stop. It's not our decision.
so we did receive, they just decided what those cut scores are gonna look like, and we received that today, and so we will be going over that with you all, coming up in October. So,
Wonderful.
exciting times.
Will we get ACT information then?
Yes, ACT is included in that with our secondary, our transition readiness. So yeah, you'll see that as well.
Hey, I just have one question.
Sure.
The 14th when the media gets it means that they get the numbers so they can work on
Yes.
writing there, but they're not
Correct.
gonna release it until.
Yeah, it will
the
not be
18th.
released till
Okay.
the 18th. Yes, that is correct.
So, that prompts a question, when you comment.
Yeah,
Is, our meetings are public, and we're gonna discuss it at a work session, what precludes our local newspaper from
right, so.
covering the meeting?
Yeah, I'm thinking, yeah, I don't
I might have
think we'll be able
misspoken.
to. Yeah,
Sorry.
I don't think we'll really be, that was the kind of
Okay.
thought behind making the 13th. You know, we already had it on the books, we really wouldn't be able to go into the depth that we'd like to because of the embargo.
Right, okay,
Yeah,
yeah. okay.
So we can see it, but we just can't.
you can, you'd have to do your disclosure.
So
Yeah.
it sounds like we might have a lengthy discussion in our student
Yes.
achievement report
Yes.
On
at the meeting. on the
That's, there you
Correct.
go.
So
Yes.
that's when we'll
Yep.
really.
Yeah, we'll really dive into it
All right.
on that day.
Wonderful.
Yeah, in
Got
depth.
it, all right.
But we will make sure that you all will see that beforehand, but you'll just have to do all the non-disclosure agreements.
Okay.
And that's kind of the 13th.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Making
yeah,
sure
we
we
want
got
to
all
see
that
what,
squared
oh,
away.
you remember,
Yeah.
so we want to see if we
Yep.
come by, we sign the
Yep.
form.
Yep, and then you can look at it.
All right, great.
We'll have it all ready for you. So, yeah. All right, do y'all have any questions? Great, thank you all.
Smiling, that's good.
Thank you so much.
Still smiling.
We look forward to that meeting, thank you. Number 11, approve district funding assurances for comprehensive district improvement plan.
Move.
All in favor? Those opposed? Motion carries. Number 12, approve agreement between Inova Healthcare Services, Inova Employees Assistance, IE, and Scott County Board of Education.
Second.
All in favor? Those opposed? Motion carries.
Now, real quick, just want to say I thank you all for the support of that employee assistance program. We talked about it last year, and it took a little bit longer for us to get here, but thank you all. We plan on, Damon plans on rolling that out November 1st.
Just know one of them we talking about. You can get it there, come on, make it happen.
Number 13, approve memorandum of agreement between the Office of Vocational Rehabilitation, Education and Labor Cabinet, and Scott County Schools for the 2022-2023 school year. All in favor? Those opposed? Motion carries. Number 14, approve agreement between Southern Kentucky Speech Therapy and Scott County Board of Education.
Second.
All in favor? Those opposed? Motion carries. Number 15, approve agreement between the City of Georgetown, Kentucky, Georgetown Municipal Water and Sewer and Service, and Scott County Board of Education. All in favor? Those opposed? Motion carries. Number 16, approve selection of business community leaders to serve on the local planning committee.
So, do you mind if I jump in real quick?
Jump
just
right
to
in.
share? Okay, so when we did this before, we had to go through it multiple times. We had to post it out, put public notice out more than one time because it didn't garner the interest. So I'm really pleased that with just this one notice, we were able to have 3 people that have reached out. And it's just 3, so it's not a contentious kind of situation where we've got multiple people to consider. But for your consideration, Nathaniel Price, Josh Landacre, and Alan Bryan. Alan Bryan had served on it previously. He currently works for Georgetown Municipal Water. Who did he work for before that?
What was the name of that?
He's with the
Engineering group.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, but at any rate, he had served on it before. The other 2 would be new additions, but are both involved in the community. And again, that would be the 3 members that we put before you to select as that part of our LPC.
Second. To approve.
All in favor? Those opposed? Motion carries. Number 17, approve selection of board member to serve on the local planning committee.
I nominate Diana Brooker to serve on our local planning committee.
Second.
All in favor?
Uh,
Those opposed? Motion carries.
We will move, we will send this out tomorrow to the state, to KDE, to say, hey, here's our committee, and then they'll start giving us the orientation materials for that.
Okay, wonderful, thank you. Number 18, appointment calendar committee and select board member to serve on committee for the 2023-2024 school year.
I nominate Stephanie Powers to serve on the calendar committee for the 23-24 school year.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. When do we start the meeting on that?
I believe sooner than we did last year.
Yeah, yeah. We want to be a little bit,
There's Scott Bruins. There he is. Okay, I didn't know if you were here or not for sure, so
Yes,
go
sir.
ahead.
I have already contacted a couple of the original members of the committee, and now that this is official, we can begin to kind of make progress, probably in the next week or two.
Okay, yeah, just let me know.
Yeah, our goal is to have everything set to go by the November meeting.
Okay, that'd be great.
perfect, thank you. Number 19, approve certified evaluation appeals panel, Board of Education appointments.
Second.
All in favor? Those opposed? Motion carries.
Do we need to specify that it's Frank?
I believe it's listed in there for
Okay,
the appointment.
okay.
Frank is the chair and Stephanie is the alternative, or is the alternate, yeah.
Okay. Number 20, approve increase in Scott County High School choir travel fee.
Second.
All in favor? Those opposed? Motion carries. Number 21, approve increase in archery fee for Garth Elementary School.
How does this compare to the other elementary schools? Is this now becoming more, or is it the same? Is it
So
getting
as far as
more?
the fee, so sometimes what we've seen with archery is different schools have different levels of involvement in competitions. Some might just do 3 or 4 during the course of the school year, some do more. And I think that, I believe there was a change in the coach at Garth, and so I believe there's a little bit of philosophical changes there as far as what they're involved in. It's about typically a competition is $7 a kid, most of them, so that just kind of gives you an idea of kind of what they're probably looking at.
And students who are on free reduced lunch, is that being paid for them, or is it waived? Move to approve. Second.
All in favor? Those opposed? Motion carries. Number 22, approve to increase student fee for HOSA at Elkhorn Crossing School. All in favor? Those opposed? Motion carries. Number 23, approve and recognize the reestablishment of the Georgetown Middle School PTA PTSO. All in favor? Those opposed? Motion carries. Number 24, approve shortened school day week for students with special needs.
Second.
All in favor? Those opposed? Motion carries. Number 25, approve to create ratified positions 25A through 25C as submitted.
Second.
All in favor? Those opposed? Motion carries. Number 26, approve emergency certification for 26A through 26E as submitted.
Move, I'll get to the point we'll have to do emergency.
Me too. Second.
All in favor? Those opposed? Motion carries. Number 27, review revision to procedure 09.2241 AP1 guidelines for distribution of medication to students.
I think that's just a review. But that one is tied to one of the policies you'll see, I think number 30. Yeah, we had talked about that last meeting.
Number 28, acknowledge and reading of section 504 procedures, students with disabilities, 08.131. Number 29, second reading and approval of revised policy 09.4341, alternative education.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Number 30, second reading and approval of revised policy 09.2241, student medication.
Move.
Second.
All in favor? Those opposed? Motion carries. Number 31, review booster documentation. Number 32, approve working budget for 2023 fiscal year.
Move.
All in favor? Those opposed? Motion carries. Number 33, approve items for surplus.
Move.
I have a question.
Okay.
So something's lost is still considered surplus?
I had the same question.
Yeah, our process, that's something me and Gina talked a little bit about. It's something that we'll probably consider looking at. But yeah, if it's lost, it's either got to be paid for or there's got to be some sort of police report for it. And through COVID, there were a lot of items that just, well, and not just that, just I think the inventory process was in some years very complicated because, you know, can people come on site, can they not? There is this, you know, those kinds of things. So, right.
Well, Billy, I know in years past that when you do the inventory, and I can just imagine what a nightmare it was after dealing with the COVID thing. Those things that were on the list that a Pacific school hadn't had in
Long time.
years. It just hadn't been shuffled in the right category and come up with something to fill in that box.
Yeah, it was in the, no, it's always the problem.
I'll second this. Somebody,
We have a first and a second. I need a second.
Wait,
second.
All in favor? Those opposed? Are you all in? I wasn't sure what you were going to say there. Just caught me off guard, Kevin. I'm sorry. That was funny. Number 34, financial statement.
Before we get started, I just want to take a second and introduce you all to our new Director of Accounting, Jennifer Wilson. She comes to us from Harris Independent, and just so you could get a new face and realize who she is. As promised, I have two financial statements for you all today. I have July of 2022. Our beginning balance was $17.8 million. Our receipts were $122.2 million. That was when we had our bond sale to build Scott County High School. Our expenses were $7.8 million, leaving our ending cash balance at $123,436,782.76. We had bid out the bank that was going to hold our money. So in the August statement, it looks a little different. Our beginning balance was $123.4 million. We had receipts of $5.1 million, expenses of $9 million, and our ending cash balance was $120,130,006.30. But of that, $97,466,293.98 was in investment, and that's how we're going to earn the approximately $2.5 million in interest. So we're really excited about that, and it's happening now. So, any questions for me?
Thank you for all your work.
Welcome aboard.
Number 35, approve current bills.
Second.
All in favor? Those opposed? Motion carries.
I can remember sitting in the audience and thinking, man, I can't imagine having to come up with the superintendent's report every month, but man, it just makes itself. It just makes itself. We've got so much going on. Under strategic leadership, myself and Ms. Simmons had a meeting with some representatives from Toyota. They have an initiative that's called Driving Possibilities. They put out about $110 million towards it nationally. It's springing up in different parts of the country, and it's kind of in its infancy here, but I know they're talking a little bit with Fayette County as well, and us about what that work might look like, and how we might be able to work together to make something really great happen for our students. So again, early stages, but really excited about the people that are at the table as we start this work. Also, as I mentioned before, the high school scheduling work session, I'm looking forward to us being able to talk through some things at that work session. Instructional leadership.
You said that you're talking about the 13th?
Yes, that's correct. Yes, the 13th. Yeah.
Okay, there was something.
No, it's kind of it was on October 13th, the student assessment work session.
And driving possibilities, is that like driving a car?
No. So it's kind of just really, it's just a play on words, because, Toyota Drive. But it's what they're just calling the initiative. It can look a lot of different ways. So exactly what we end up doing with that, we're kind of trying to treat it on front end as kind of a blank canvas. We're trying to identify who the key players are, what are some short-term objectives that we might have with it, and what might be some longer-term objectives. We've talked about the possibility of it even being something where we, like our career choices classes at all of our middle schools. Maybe we have some sort of mobile unit that goes between the schools, and at different times of the year, it goes to each one of the middle schools to expose students to some careers that might be out there and different things like that. So again, really super early, but I was really excited to see their desire to kick in. So speaking of other kind of unique and innovative things out there, the Kentucky Science Center is partnering with Southern Elementary. They have a cart, they're calling it their STEAM cart, and we're the second school in all of the state that is going to have an opportunity to use this cart. It's cost over $10,000 as far as all the materials on it. It's got these little robots, and speaking of Toyota is a major contributor on this as well. But it is something that from our conversations with the Kentucky Science Center, we talked about the opportunity to try and get this maybe in front of the commissioner, and so I reached out to the commissioner and made sure he knew, as close as we are to Frankfort, hey, come by, check it out, because I know that the Kentucky Science Center has a desire to expand beyond just the two schools that they're in. They're in Southern, and they're in a school, can't remember which school it is, but one in Jefferson County. But anyway, really interesting stuff, and to see all the kids and how engaged they were with what they were doing in the classroom was pretty exciting. Also this week, started my PGP meetings with principals, and I'm about halfway done. I should finish the rest of them up tomorrow. And then, as I was saying, Ms. Emmons, she's been in presentation mode all day. We had our Deeper Learning team startup today, and she did a great job really setting the stage, just spending a lot of time trying to explain why are we engaging in this work, really building the why behind it. I felt it as being somebody in the room. I felt the energy that came from the individuals that are part of that group. So really excited about the work that we're going to do there. And again, that's where some of that graduate profile or portrait of a graduate, we talked a little bit about that. That's where some of this will start with this core group there. Cultural leadership, had an initial meeting. I believe I saw Ms. Hanson in the room. There you are. Okay, yes. Which, by the way, thank you for the birthday card the other day. But we had a wonderful first meeting. Got to really just, talk through a lot of different ideas and things that were, topics in the district. So I had a really great initial meeting. We've got it set to where we'll have monthly meetings at this point moving forward, and just really excited about the new leadership team that they've got in place, and some familiar faces that I know from different experiences. So really excited to get to work with them. And then I've attended about every fall sport we've got. I've tried to make sure I've attended at least one. Still got one hanging that one parent won't keep on just making sure they drive it in, that I haven't been there yet. So trying to do that. But at any rate, it's been neat to get out there and see so many kids that we have involved across our community. Human resource leadership, staffing allocations. After the 10-day count, we got to that point where we really were able to look at allocations and how that shook out for our schools and try to do right by the district and also do right by schools in those conversations. And then Damon Stefanik's got an emergency non-certified school personnel program, which is a big fancy name for another way we can get additional subs in the buildings, perhaps. I'm hoping that our schools will latch onto this. It gives us an opportunity to get people that maybe don't have the college hours that would be required for typical substitute certification, but that we're great people. Every school has great people that maybe don't meet the exact qualifications for it, but that would be great doing that. So in this case, if you're in an education program and are not 25 years old, or you're older than 25 years old with a high school diploma, you're eligible. So I think Eastern Elementary, I don't know if Corey Kemper's in here, but if she is, kudos to her. I think they're leading the charge. They've got 3 people lined up to be a part of this program. Four people lined up to be a part of this program. And the way the program works too is the first year they're kind of tied to their home school. So the 4 people that Corey Kemper gets, well, they're only eligible for Eastern this first year. So she'll have 4 more subs than everybody else at this point. But then after this first year, after they've been through the first year, then it has an opportunity for the person to be available throughout the entire district. So it's something that it's kind of been out there before, and then we were looking at it at different points in the past. But
A question.
yeah.
With that program, is there a piece of it or a segment of it that maybe we could help them achieve the rest of their hours they need, or wherever they fall short at just a little bit? Is there a piece of it that we can assist them with?
You mean if somebody was short on the college hour side?
Yes.
Like a scholarship.
Well, I'm just.
I think in that kind of case, if they're looking towards education, I mean, we've been finding ways in a lot of cases to get them employed with us. So if somebody, I'm sure, Damon, I mean, we did it when I was over it. If we had somebody come in and maybe they didn't have the hours or weren't able to check all the boxes and weren't able to get them in, we try and find a way to get them. If we can't check that box, sometimes you can apply for waivers for different things, and they'll waive different pieces of regulation for various reasons. So that's a pathway sometimes, but then the other pathway might be steering them towards a classified type role. And also they could perhaps sub-classified role. I had some conversations here this past week kind of along those lines. There's an Option 9 program that exists. But when I look at the Option 9 program, it's really designed, people have been looking at it through the lens of, well, do you have any classified folks that might want to be teachers? It's essentially a three-year pathway. You can get to a degree in 3 years. We've kind of started taking a unique look at that and maybe looking at it instead of in terms of current classified employees. Maybe we partner with our high schools and say, hey, do you have kids that we could get through this program in 3 years? And so what it would do, and it might require a little bit of commitment from the board on this, what it would do is it would give them 3 years towards a bachelor's degree. It may be a situation, like right now I don't think it'd be a situation because we could say we've got a classified position for them. And we could offer them up to maybe 20 hours so that they're technically full-time and meet the requirements. But it could be too that maybe they want the full gig, the whole kit and caboodle, the whole job. And so we give them that job for the 3 years while they're working through.
That's kind of what I was.
Yeah, this is kind of a pathway towards that.
Right. Are they dedicated enough to step out and want to do this?
Yes.
It's going to tie up a lot.
Grow your own in a different way.
Yeah.
Yes, and the problem with Option 9 was that everybody, including myself, that had been looking at it, was looking at it through the lens of current employees. And we kind of already have things in the work and pathways and this and that. But if you start shifting it to looking at maybe if we look at our kids literally that have just graduated from us, yeah, we can give them a 3-year pathway, so they get through 3 years versus 4. The only hiccup right now is that there's not, I don't know that there's a college or university right now that is offering an Option 9 pathway. But we happen to have friends at certain colleges and universities in central Kentucky, and so there are conversations about maybe making that a possibility. Maybe it's UKU, maybe it's somewhere else. I don't know. But at any rate, that's something along those lines that we're really looking at. So I'm glad you brought that up, Kevin.
Actually, I thought about it when we did the birth certification. That's where they came from.
Managerial leadership, we talked about the new Scott County High School athletic complex work, and then I put on here, and it's something that I wanted to kind of make sure everybody's kind of aware of. If we really look at what we've got in place for our open enrollment policy currently, essentially, once a school reaches capacity, they're shut down and they're not eligible to be a school that kids can go to. Looking at where we're at, Great Crossing is there. So if we follow our own rules, next year Great Crossing wouldn't be eligible to be open. And I've talked to Joy about that. I've talked to Elizabeth about that. Talked to our team here at Central Office, and everybody's understanding of the situation that we're in, and nobody's got any kind of heartburn in terms of the logistics side of it, because Joy's getting to that point where they're getting tight. So I simply am saying this kind of out loud to the board, so that if that's something that the board isn't the desire of the way the board wants to go with this, it might be something for us to talk about.
I like the policy. In 2 years, it's gonna look a little different. In August of 2024, it's gonna look a little different. For us to make a whole lot of modifications.
Yeah, I'd rather
Swing this way.
go along with it.
Right, that's
Yeah,
why I think
kinda
we
like-
lied
Well,
about
and again, and the reason I'm kind of, I'm bringing it up now, and you're thinking, well, it's September, what are you doing? But we also have, our open enrollment policy starts in January, and our scheduling will start November, and they'll start talking about it in October. So really, it kind of is, now's the time. And I don't want our community to feel like, well, wait a minute, it's been open forever, what are you doing? If we can at least say, look, one, it's the policy, and two, we've tried to get it out there as best we can, where even if they don't like it, at least they understand it's coming. So I just wanted to.
I think it would look different if we weren't getting ready to open Rankin High School in 2 years.
The thing is, not for open enrollment, but we could also not forget, if we have more kids that we need to service in that district, not open enrollment or something, but in that district, we still have that whole basement that we need to utilize as well, if needed to be.
Sure.
We can develop.
Speaking to that, because that's a great point. My only thing with that is, we just want to be careful that if we're getting that way because of the capacity of the district inside, sure.
The district is not.
Yeah, we don't want to.
We're not catering to open enrollment.
I don't want to. Yeah, if we don't make a change, don't just essentially go down the path. It looks like we're going with following our own rules on this, then we're going to be in trouble if we don't. So, just wanted to kind of make sure I'd thrown that out there, and I figured no better than the superintendent's report to.
Just don't want to forget that we have that space. Is there any
Sure.
thoughts of what that space is soon being developed?
Well, again, I think you're going to be so excited in the October meeting, because you're just a month ahead of me, Stephanie. You're just a month ahead of me. Give me just a second. Yeah. Yeah, there you go. There you go. Under collaborative leadership, I got an email from Train Commercial, and we worked with Train most specifically on the HVAC project at Eastern Elementary, and they did a little bit of work as well at Scott County High School. And I think, is that it? Did I hit it up? Am I missing somewhere?
Well, they hit several schools, but
Yeah, we
just.
got it
Okay,
throughout.
okay.
Yeah.
At any rate, we reached out to some of the people we've worked with before through Train, and I was like, hey, I got this email about this program you all are offering, kind of along the lines of the driving possibilities with Toyota, but more from a data analytics kind of lens and looking at it through energy use and that kind of thing. And so we're kind of talking to them about the possibilities of maybe doing something there too, that again connects kids with real life, real world experiences using some of our systems that we have in place. You know, essentially, sometimes with IC or maybe STI, you know, they would have our student information systems. They would create sandboxes where it was exactly what it looked like, but you couldn't break it if you were training on it or that kind of thing. Same kind of thing here. Give them the same kind of controls that DT and Lane see on a daily basis, to where they get to see the live data, but they really can't make changes or manipulations to it to negatively impact anything, but they can fiddle with it and that kind of thing. So again, that's another thing that's kind of in its infancy. We've got a follow-up meeting scheduled, I think, next week to talk through that a little bit more with more of Stephanie's team. Stephanie's team has been a part of some early meetings on this too. But again, we're really trying to, and I feel like we're really seeing it, where the business community is understanding that, you know, if they can't do it alone, we can't do it alone. We've got to be working together and trying to figure out where it works and makes sense, how we can work together to provide, again, more meaningful opportunities for our students. And then me and Stephanie had a meeting with, Emmons had a meeting with the Georgetown Airport folks there, talking about some opportunities that might exist there, and again, not really fleshed out, but it was great to get an opportunity to kind of see what's going on there. I know that in other districts they have pathways sometimes that connect and to dual credit and some college opportunities at EKU with their aeronautics program. So again, things we were looking at. And last, had an opportunity to participate in the opioid abatement meeting. And really what that is they awarded funds because of situations with drug providers and opioids, some funds to different states. Kentucky gets a big chunk of funds. We have some people in our community that are really connected with the understanding of this situation. I mean, we know drugs touch our community. I mean, we could talk for 2 meetings just about that. But at any rate, we're a part of that, and that's been a great opportunity to connect with people I didn't really know that well. And it's given us some thoughts and some ideas about some things that maybe we could do as a school system, maybe within that, or maybe even outside of that, just because it's the right thing to do. So that was a very beneficial meeting. There's follow-up meetings. Karen Butcher is leading that on. Yeah. A lot of people, I did not know her before this meeting, but a lot of people did. So she's leading the charge on that. And then last but not least, from that meeting, ended up meeting the new executive director of Transform Scott County. She came in earlier this week, and she and I had a chance to talk about some of the ways that we partner and some of the ways that we could potentially partner even further. So, been an action-packed few weeks, and sorry I feel like I ran long, but there you go. Super good.
All right, thank you very much. Appreciate that. Kevin, board comments. Would you like to start?
Yeah, I'll try to make it quick, make up for the time that's really had over there. I just want to thank you for the pullover. And I'm gonna have to hide this one, maybe I can keep it back for my daughter so I can have something to wear.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Like I said, corporate sponsors provided those, and it's again, they're real lightweight. I love them. So another option for maybe Battle of the Birds or any other event. Yeah.
Wendy?
I just want to celebrate Gina. You're awesome. Thank you so much for all you do.
Ooh, Gina.
Yeah, go ahead. I mean, the finances of the district is very important, and I've learned so much in the few months that I've been here. And they're just excited. I did attend the Scott County Bryan Station game. I'm a little sore. We should have won Bryan Station because my son was on the team. But
when I saw you, I thought
we were going to win, but you know what? Go Scott County, because I was doing the fake song when I heard it. It just comes to me.
Whose side were you on?
I was sitting on Bryan Station side because my son plays for Bryan Station, and they're trying to get the cheerleaders together to remind them that they needed to cheer a little bit more. And then I had to tell the fans we need cheerleading practice. Because we kind of let our boys down, but it was great. It was great to. I went back and forth between. It was great. I enjoyed being a Scott County fan and a Bryan Station.
So they play again on Saturday?
Huh?
So they play again Saturday? Maybe it's just a freshman.
Oh, just freshman, yeah, freshman.
I'll be there Saturday.
Yeah, so I enjoyed the game, so. And our lovely facilities, I'm just like, can't wait to submit.
There you go. Stephanie?
Thanks for the years, always fun to wear the gears for stuff. I'll be at the game on Saturday to see the first group boys play Brown Station. Our GMS boys are doing good, they're undefeated. They face undefeated Campbell County tonight, and I think I heard that they ran through and were ranked. Go GMS.
Yep.
Bucks. And thank you for the new scoreboard. They finally, for the first time in history, have a green scoreboard. So they're excited about that.
Just, I was gonna mention the STEAM card at Southern, I had seen that on social media and lots of good comments about that, I'm pretty proud of it, so. Look forward to the 13th, sounds like it's gonna be fun-filled and action-packed.
Right. You're right. Lots of good information. I just want to say thank you, everybody, for attending, and do we have a board? All in favor? Those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Good night, everybody.